We are going live right here on YouTube. I'm your host, Jamal Muhammad. And before we get into the live broadcast, I want to let you know that you are listening. We call it radio station KUCB. Let me give you a little background, history information about radio station KUCB before we get into this live broadcast. If you're picking us up now, you may catch us later. Um, first and foremost, I want to say that we thank the founders of radio station KUCB, Miss Joanne Cheatham, who was recently, for some time ago, passed, who was one of the founders, Brother Charles Knox, who was also the other founder. Brother Knox was our legal consultant. Um, he also in the Chicago area, he had a National Conference of Black Law School. I think it was 47, maybe 47 Dexter Drive. At back in the day, he had a was the director of a National Conference of Black Law School. And anybody that from the Chicago area, you uh, probably would know Brother Charles Knox. And so those two individuals founded the radio station KUCB. Um, I had the pleasure of working with both of these individuals for about 20 some years. My co-host and partner in doing so many radio shows, Sister Hada Shabarian. We hosted the International Found Call Hour. We hosted the African Liberation Hour, which was a weekly show that I did through the week. So got a chance to work with her in and around KUCB and then so many other community events and things that we worked on together. So she was my partner and had the pleasure of working with her for 20 some years. And so, once again, the founders of radio station KUCB, Miss Joanne Cheatham, Mr. Charles Knox, we lost the license in the late 90s. And we decided that it would be important to keep radio station KUCB going, that we will move to another level, another stage in this area of broadcasting where we do videos. Um, and we thank Allah for giving us the ability, the endurance, and the perseverance to be able to continue to do the videos here on YouTube, and also from time to time we do them on Facebook. So this in particular broadcast we do, and we did a just want to inform that we did a series of broadcasts, maybe like three or four on the black women and black girls who are missing. And this is a serious thing that's happening uh, across the country. Uh, for example, I just recently saw where there was a young black girl missing in Las Vegas. The Metropolitan Police Department has reported a young black girl missing in Las Vegas. The Metropolitan Police Department. I just caught that a couple of days ago in Las Vegas. Um, I also saw where we talked about the young lady whose body was found in a duffel bag in on a bike trail. Uh, they now identified that young lady and found out who she was, and I think there's been two people that's been arrested in regards to that. But it was a young African American girl whose body was found on a bike trail, actually in a duffel bag. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and I want to say they identified her. Her name was Trinity Jones. That was the name that they identified her. They arrested two people in regards to that. So these are things that I said that are really kind of uh, happening to black women, black girls and black women. And we ought to be concerned about this. We ought to be outraged about this. And we ought to be trying to do everything we can to help. If we have seen something, we have heard something, we know something that may be going on with any of these missing young girls or black women, then we ought to report it. We ought to report it to the authorities. The other thing is, too, I just wanted to mention this to you. It's real interesting in the Philadelphia area. It's been reported 7 black girls have went missing in the Philadelphia area in the past month. I want to repeat myself again on that. In the Philadelphia area, 7 black girls have went missing in Philadelphia in the last past months. Now, you brothers and sisters and people that's in Philly, if y'all have seen something or you know something, something doesn't look right, or you see something, um, then you ought to report it. And the other thing is too, I want to say this to parents, mothers, fathers, family members, whatever. If you know that there's a certain area in the city that these young girls should not be walking in, should not be traveling in, then that should be something that mothers and fathers and family members should be concerned about. They should be. If you know there's a certain area, certain time of night, no young girl got no business being out, y'all. You know? I mean, if it's going to school or coming back from school, they ought to be, we have to instruct our young girls. They need to be aware of their surroundings. They need to be aware of where they're going to, where they're hanging out. If it's with friends, if it's with some boy or something, it ought to be all of this is the whole package, y'all. And so, for 7 black girls that have went missing in the Philadelphia area in the past month, that is something that is alarming, and we ought to be concerned about it. We should be trying to do everything we can to help. You know, on that same note, uh, I reported on the last broadcast that we did concerning this same issue. I talked about in the St. Louis area, north of St. Louis. There's a little county, there's a little town, and this comes from St. Louis, Missouri, KTV. There's a little place, a little town in St. Louis, north of St. Louis, small community called Beverly, Missouri. And 33 kids have disappeared in that small town. But get this, y'all, this is since 2000. But get this, out of the 33 who have disappeared, 12 out of that 30, 12 has been black girls. So I'm saying, once again, we ought to be trying to, if we've seen anything, we know anything, we ought to report it to the authorities. This is serious. Here on the one end, you got 7 black girls who have went missing in the past month in Philadelphia. Here on the other end, you got in a little town north of St. Louis, Beverly, Missouri, Berkeley, Missouri. You had 33 kids to disappear. Out of that 33, 12 of those kids are black girls. Don't we find that shouldn't that shouldn't that send an alarm off within our community? Shouldn't it send an alarm off within our community? It should, you know. And we ought to be. This is something that we ought to be concerned about, you know. Um, the other thing I want to mention too, along those same lines, uh, with these girls being missing in the St. Louis area and also in the Philadelphia area. One of the things that that's being reported, and they are saying is that so many times abandoned buildings, abandoned houses, uh, even some of the motels could be used for a front to be holding these young girls into sex trafficking, to get them into sex trafficking or into sex slavery. This is one of the things that could be happening. It doesn't make it difference what city you're in, what location you're in. This could be going down. I'll say it again. One of the places that sometimes these young girls could be being held, or even young black women could be held, could be in abandoned buildings, could be abandoned houses. Uh, it could be even, they may have some of the motels who may be hooked up with this kind of operation for sex trafficking and sex slaves. We never know. So anytime that we see anything that's unusual, that's strange, we ought to report this to the authorities. The other thing I want to mention to you too about the young uh, black woman who is a mail carrier, um, and I'm just kind of looking through my notes here uh, to where um, this young lady was working for the post office, and from what I know, she when they went back and checked the surveillance cameras, and they saw where she had went past her car. She never got in her car. She just somehow disappeared. And so I'm saying this is something to be concerned about, and the family is pleading for help. You know, um, it says that this happened in 2018, and the young lady is 29 years of age, uh, and she never returned home from work. She was headed to work with the postal service. She had on a uniform. I saw the picture. She had on a uniform, and they was talking about it. And she never returned home. And this has been some time ago, and the family is simply going out of their mind, parents, family members, because they don't know what happened to their child. And I'm saying to people who may catch this broadcast, anything that you have seen or heard or might be not sure about, it doesn't look right, it doesn't seem right, you ought to report it. You ought to call it into authorities, you know, anything like that. Um, the other thing is, too, I got a report where a black girl missing since March 2nd, 2019 in St. Paul, Minnesota. Uh, Picked this up where there was a young black girl missing uh, since March 2nd, 2019 in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I want to say too, also I want to say this, and this is I need to really kind of just expound on this for a minute or two because this is real serious. You know, young girls can be snatched up, young women, black women can be snatched up, young black girls can be snatched up, and they can be held for sex trafficking or they can be held for sex slaves. And you may be surprised sometimes to find out the people that may be involved in this kind of stuff. It could be black people right in the neighborhood, right in the community could be involved in this. You never know. I mentioned about the seven girls in the the seven girls past month that went missing in Philadelphia. You know, this same thing, 33 kids, Berkeley, Missouri, 33 kids out of the 33, 12 are black girls that went missing in a small county north of St. Louis. So this is something to be concerned and alarmed about because it's happening across the board. It's something about Las Vegas. It's something about Philly. It's something about certain areas where we have a large number of black girls who have went missing in those areas. St. Louis County, Beverly, Missouri, and also Philadelphia and Las Vegas. And we know that sex trafficking is a big, big deal right now. You know, I mean, it's big time. And also, girls and women being sold to be sex slaves, sex trafficking, you know. And so, this is a concern. It should be a concern for all of us. And it ought to be something that we ought to be on top of. We see anything that's not right, we see something that's not right, then we ought to be trying to report it to the authorities. I'm praying that these situations, these things that I had mentioned, that people adhere to them and try to really help in finding these young women to bring them home. You know, because imagine yourself with your child being gone. It could be a young uh, girl, teenage girl, or it could be a young woman, black woman who may be missing. And imagine the family, you know, how I'm sure they're just out of their mind, worried and wondering about their child, if she's safe, if she's still alive, don't know what's going on. So I'm saying if somebody out there who may catch this broadcast, catch this video now or later, if you know something, you see something, if you saw something that you didn't think was right, you saw somebody doing something that wasn't right, report it. Call it into the authorities. They have numbers where you don't have to be identified. You can just call in and give them a tip. But if you see something, you never know how important that may be, whatever you may saw, whatever you may heard, you never know how important it may be. It may lead to something else may lead to something else, you know? So we encouraging people to get involved. Once again, this broadcast has been specifically about the missing black girls and black women in the Philadelphia area, in the Las Vegas area, and also in a small county north of St. Louis, Missouri, called Berkeley, Missouri. 33 kids have disappeared. Out of the 33, 12 have been black girls. And so people need to be concerned and being on top of this. And we need to make sure that we continue to talk to our young girls and young women. Sometimes I know with young girls, they get into it with their parents, get into it with their family members, and the first thing they do, they run away from home. That's not always the solution. Because when you run away, you don't know what and who you may be running to. You may run to someone or you may go to someone. They may pretend like they're concerned or they're going to help you. And you look up before you know it, they'll be done transported you into a sex trafficking or a sex ring, and there won't be nothing you can do about it. You're running away from home or getting mad or getting upset about something that your parents might have said to you or told you to do, and you may think that you didn't have to do it, or you was grown, or you were so old you didn't have to do it. Once you run away from home and get out here, and no telling what and who you may run into. See that thing. So I'm saying we need to continue to communicate and talk to our black girls, parents, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, the whole work. And anytime we see anything that's not right, we need to report it to the authorities. We see sometimes what these people do that's involved in sex trafficking, they have these vans that they park maybe in a certain location. It could be in a park, it could be anywhere. They park these vans, white big vans, dark windows, and the whole idea is to snatch up some young girl, to snatch up some young woman. They could be going in the store, they could be going anywhere, getting off work anywhere. They could be going. But the whole idea is to snatch them up, put them in this van, boom, they be gone. They could be in the sex trafficking or being a sex slave. Any of that could happen. I'm saying this is why young black girls, young women, black women need to be aware of their surroundings. Going out, clubbing, that's not always a good idea. Weekends, whatever, that's not always a good idea. Because you may have to leave, go to the parking lot, you may have to leave, drive home by yourself. If you've been drinking or got tips or something, even if you haven't, it's still a dangerous situation. I know oftentimes we sisters may take a position, they can go what they want to do what they want to do. Yes, you can. But in this day and time that we're living in, and with all the stuff that's going on, We ought to be more aware now. I'm saying we ought to be passing this on to our black girls and our black women. You should be more aware now of your surroundings than you have been any other time. In traveling, you should be aware of your surroundings because something could go down, something could happen anytime. And when you least expecting it, that's when something can happen. Don't never think because you're all in a group and you with three or four girls that something can happen. Still, something could still happen. See, it could still happen. So I'm saying anyone that's traveling by themselves, you ought to be calling, telling people where you're going. You ought to let them know if you got there safe. There's nothing wrong with that. You may think that you're grown and whatever, you don't have to report or they shouldn't be checking on you. Well, that's foolish to be thinking that way because with all the things that are going on, we're talking about safety and being conscious and aware of your surroundings. That's what is important. See? So once again, we want to bring you this broadcast. This broadcast is entitled Black Girl Still Missing, 2019, Still Missing. So we pray to Allah that someone may catch something on this video and be able to be encouraged to help try to bring or find or locate these black women. As I said, 7 black girls in the Philadelphia area have went missing the past month or so. 7 black girls in the Philadelphia area. In a small town, Berkeley, Missouri, north of St. Louis, 33 kids have disappeared. Out of the 33, 12 are black girls. So that should set a red flag up to us. That should set a red flag. And there's been other cases. I mentioned those places, but there's other cities and other locations where black girls have been missing too. So